wishes to speak, they will raise their hand. I will call on members by stating their name clearly for our audio listeners. All of our meetings are recorded, which notice just told me again. Both video and written transcriptions will be made available to the public on the city's website. Although we will not be having public speaking tonight, you can sign up to speak at our monthly council meetings. Please email Elissa Tinty to sign up by noon the day of the meeting, or you can submit written comment for the record by the same deadline. The email address is emtinty@kingston-ny.gov. You can also drop comments off at the drop box located outside the side door of City Hall. We also encourage you to reach out to committee chairs or your ward's representative at any time. Clerk Elissa Tinty is the moderator for today's meeting. She has the right to lock and pause the meeting to eject anyone who has behaved inappropriately. Last of all, tonight's meeting, we have council members Steve Shabbat, Michelle Hirsch, Tony Davis, Don Tollerman, and Rita Worthington. We also have city staff, Mayor Noble, Elissa Tinty, the aforementioned, Julie Noble, Dan Baker, John Toohey, Alan Winchell, John Schulteis, Kevin Bryant. We also have with, Mark Brown of the fire department. We also have with us Tim Moot, and I believe that does it for our guests. All right, all that said, thank you for your patience during these difficult times, and on behalf of the Common Council, I wish you and your family good health. I now call this meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, welcome everyone. So our first order of business is the Nyserda Clean Energy Communities Leadership Round. Julie Noble is here to guide us in the significance of this particular request. Julie, you want to take it away and tell us what's going on here?
Sure. Thank you so much for your time. So I'm here tonight to request funding to support an application that we have to Nyserda. The background on this is that in 2018, because of actions that we have taken up till then, in the realm of clean energy, our city was designated as a clean energy community, and we were the first city in New York State to be designated as such. In doing those actions, Nyserda opened up at that time a Clean Energy Communities Award program where, because of our actions, we qualified prior to other communities for a $100,000 award with no match. Basically as a congratulations on the work that you've done. That money has been nearly fully spent on the retrofit of the LED lighting in City Hall and the installation of the storm windows in City Hall. Subsequent to that, Nyserda decided to do a second round of Clean Energy Communities certification. And so we decided to pursue that. Because of additional actions that we have done since that time, since 2018, including the retrofit of our entire streetlight system, the adoption of the New York Stretch Energy Code that you all adopted several months ago, the adoption of the Unified Solar Permit, the Solarize campaign that we are in the midst of, HVAC upgrades at our Rondo Neighborhood Center, all of our municipal buildings being retrofitted to LED lighting, and others, including the increase of our green fleet and our fleet and transition to energy efficient vehicles. We are the 6th highest in the state. And once we take ownership of one more clean vehicle on the 14th of September, we will be the 2nd highest in New York State and the highest city in terms of ranking in clean energy, according to Nyserda. Because of this, we have also now received an additional second round of funding. And this is a smaller pot of money. We received $50,000. And in order to move that forward, one of the stipulations was that we needed to do a project in a disadvantaged community. And there's a designated area by Nyserda, which is the disadvantaged community area. There are certain actions we are able to take with this funding. Just like there were with the first 100,000, there are certain restricted actions, including additional electric vehicles, solar energy on a municipal building, LED streetlight conversions, some things that we've done already. But what we haven't done thus far is actually make a concerted effort to install solar on our municipal buildings. We do have solar energy offsetting multiple municipal accounts, including community solar from the Point of Praise Church and community solar from the WKNY system. And we have a very, very small system of solar installed at the Forsyth Nature Center. But with this funding, we are looking to install a solar system on the rooftop of the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center. This area qualifies as a disadvantaged community area. We feel as though it would be extremely high profile, as everyone driving up and down Broadway would see this solar system. And we are proposing to offset 110%, which is the maximum capacity that we are permitted to do, to offset 110% of the electrical demands of the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center, which is one of the higher buildings, higher use or higher demand buildings that we have in our city. We were awarded the $50,000 and need to submit to Nyserda by October 29th what our project will be and the full funding package that we are able to put forward. So about 2 months ago, Ellie Gartenstein, my colleague, and I worked with Brian Waltman to put together an RFP for a solar installation on the Andy Murphy Neighborhood Center. We issued that RFP and we received 2 bids. And the lowest apparent bidder was Sun Common, which is a local company out of Rhinebeck. And their bid for the 110%, which is the full demand, came to $86,840. So for $86,840, Sun Common would install a 49 kilowatt system, which is 110 solar panels on the southeast side. That's the Hoffman Street side of the Andy Murphy building on the slanted roof section. And those panels would cover all the electricity demand for this building and above and beyond. We outfitted it, or we got an RFP for the maximum that we use now, but in all the actions that we do, we're reducing energy efficiency. So we overcompensated for what we would need, but to capture what we're using right now. These panels would be installed on the rooftop, which is 16 years old. And they've come by and evaluated this. They're high efficiency panels with a 25-year warranty, but we have $50,000 and the cost of the full system would be $86,840. Thus, my presence tonight, which is to ask of you all to accept this grant of $50,000, this grant award from Nyserda, and furthermore to allocate from the fund balance the balance of the project, which would be $36,840. Then we would move forward awarding the solar installation to Sun Common, and the installation would happen next year. This is a reimbursable grant, so we would have all of the money up front, install the system, and then we would be reimbursed through $50,000. So this would be a financial impact to the city of $36,840, which I propose to come out of the fund balance.
Great, thank you for that. Any questions for Julie? Tony Davis?
Hi, Julie. I just want to clarify something because make sure my thing. So this is a $50,000. The solar system's $50,000. Throw me back on those numbers again. I was trying to write them down.
Sure.
Please.
So the full solar system for 110%, which is the maximum we can put on, is $86,840. The award that we have from Nyserda is $50,000. So the Nyserda would cover $50,000, and I'm asking for the remaining $36,840 $4,840 from the city.
Julie, this is Rennie. I'm wondering, do you have any estimates on what kind of cost savings that might entail switching to solar for this area?
I do. So the estimated savings are $4,300 per year immediately upon installation, and also the associated greenhouse gas emissions, which equates to 60,000 pounds of greenhouse gas equivalent annually. And the payback period for the full array would be 8.5 years, which is consistent with the average payback period for solar arrays in the United States, which is 8 to 10 years.
Great, thanks. So in essence, in a way, this is a loan, this 36,000, because it'll be paid back by the cost savings of switching to solar here.
Correct. And the more effort we continue to make with energy efficiency, the faster it will pay back as well.
Great, thank you. Other questions for Julie? Don Tollerman?
Hi, Julie. Sounds great. So the 8-year payback is based on the 36,000 you're requesting, or on the entire cost?
I believe that it's based on the 36,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would they be able to get that installed this year?
So the submission of our intent for how we intend to apply the money is due by October 29th. Should the council approve the funding tonight and vote on it in October, we would submit our application immediately thereafter, early in October. Then we would need to wait to get into contract with Nyserda, which I anticipate taking several months, and then getting into contract with SunCommon, which I anticipate taking a short period of time, also maybe a month. I would guess it would happen in the late winter or spring of next year.
And one last question. The energy estimates that you provided, was that based on LED having been installed inside or prior to that?
The $4,300 a year is based on the 10-year estimate of this building. So it took into account COVID when we weren't really here, took into account the LED and pre-LED. So when we actually requested the amount from the, in our RFP, the annual kilowatt hours is actually 54,492 over that period of time, over that 10-year average, but they sized it out to only have to be 49,000. And based on the reduction with the LED, that's significantly down from what the 10-year average is. And as I said, with continued, work on the building, as we continue to do in all of our buildings, that will go down, and then payback will be significantly faster.
What do we do with the extra 10% of energy?
Get more electric vehicles and plug them into the building.
Thank you very much.
Michelle Hirsch?
Hi, Julie. How are you? Thanks for being here. What is the expected lifespan for the solar arrays, like average number of years that they?
So the panels themselves, which were proposed by SunCommon in their bid, are LG Electronics. It's a high efficiency panel, 445 watt high efficiency panel. And those panels themselves have a 25-year warranty. In our RFP, we also stipulated that the workmanship and the materials themselves had to have at least a 10-year warranty. So the work itself would have at least a 10-year warranty, and the panels themselves from the manufacturer have a 25-year warranty.
Great, thank you. And then are we getting batteries to store the energy and for nighttime? And I don't believe that the buildings use that much at night, so.
Great question. So our ideal going into this was that we would outfit the building with 110% of a solar system and add battery storage. This building is utilized as an emergency shelter. It's the Red Cross shelter, and it doesn't have a generator. And it would behoove us to have some sort of storage system for this building. However, and in the bid, we did request from any proposers that they would give us a cost for storage. I was given a response from the bidders that, and I quote, due to New York State adoption of UL 950, and maybe Chief Brown knows what that is, but I certainly don't. But either way, it's a state adopted legislation, I suppose. No viable or reliable, tested, and compliant for public buildings products existed that are New York 2020 Fire Code approved for 3PH208V services. To me, that means that what we need is not available due to fire code. So I took that as, unfortunately, we cannot put in a storage system. And so the bidders did not bid on a storage system. And thus this project does not include storage.
Any other questions?
Yeah, do we know if, like, in the future, if there's any legislation being worked on at the state level, or there's something that will be then possibly adopted to meet those standards, or?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, then. If there's no other questions for Julie, we'll entertain a motion to discuss. Tony Davis, second. Steve Shabbat. Thank you. Any comments here? Any comments or discussion? Don Tollerman?
This seems to make a lot of sense, and it shows leadership in the state, and continues our citywide leadership for being environmentally sound. And I think it's a great idea. So I would definitely vote in favor of it.
Other comments? Michelle Hirsch?
Yeah, I think that the numbers make sense, and especially with the warranties on the panels, the 25-year warranty and then the 10-year warranty on the work. So I think it's a really good move for the city.
Anyone else? All right, then without objection, I'll call for a vote after I read the committee report here. A resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance of the Nyserda Clean Energy Communities Leadership Round Award and a subsequent 2021 budget transfer request in the Midtown Neighborhood Center Capital Improvements line in the amount of $86,840 to advance the solar installation project with the funds. Reimbursement will come from the Nyserda funds for $50,000, and the city's match will be $36,840 from the fund balance, meaning that the estimated financial impact will be $36,840. So without objection, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Great, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Julie. Have a good night. And John Toohey has reminded me that, again, I have messed up with our usual practice here of having him go first to give us a sense of where we stand with our city budget. So John, if you'll give us an overview of where things are, I would greatly appreciate it, and I apologize again.
Thank you, Rennie, very much. Just want to update the council again on our finances for the month of September. I sent out the reports earlier today. On the expense side, the city continues to track very well. We are currently through July, we're still under half spent of our budget. We're sitting at 49%. The large positive variances that I'm seeing right now are particularly due to personnel and the number of vacancies that we have throughout the city. There's been delays in backfilling positions and in many departments, and it's driving some significant positive variances in both regular pay and the benefit expenses. It has driven up overtime cost a little bit, but through the month of July, we are only at 60% of overtime spent for the year. The overtime budget, we're 60%. To give you an idea, through July, it's roughly 58% of the year. So we're ticking a little bit over budget with overtime, but on the personnel side, some significant positive variances, and they are the largest cost that the city has in its budget. So I'll continue to keep you apprised there, but at this point, I'm expecting that we will on the expense side have a number of positive variances as we move forward through the year, particularly on the personnel side. We have spent some fund balance to as part of our fund balance management plan, but we also have offsetting savings. So that is good news. In terms of the revenue side, the biggest item to continue to talk about is sales tax. It's kind of astounding at this point of where our numbers are. We are at $9 million through our last collection. To give you some perspective, at this time last year, we were at 6.9 million. We're 9 million now through this collection. And pre-pandemic, if you go back 2 years ago, 2019, we're just under 7.5. So you went from 7.5 down to 6.9. And at this point, we're at 9 million, which is 31.5% over last year's collections at this time. So, and in terms of sheer dollar amounts, we are over $2.1 million over last year's collections in terms of sales tax. Okay, so we have a couple wonky collections coming forward where the collections were significantly higher than the prior year. So there could be some negative adjustments going forward, but it's tough to foresee anything but a very positive sales tax performance for the city this year. But once again, these are other numbers that could drive a surplus for the city for 2021.
Great. Any questions for John? Don Tollerman?
Hey, John, thanks. I can't take all this good news from you. So the question is the sales tax good news related to more people buying locally? That the buy local notion, is that catching on, and is that what we're seeing, or is it other factors?
I mean, we don't have a ton of data on the exact source, but yeah, my understanding is that's some of it. Obviously, the online has picked up a lot during COVID. I certainly think the inflation, the construction materials.
But we don't for online. We don't collect sales tax for online shopping.
We do.
Like,
yes. So it's sourced back to the location from where the individual purchased it from. So if you're a Kingston resident, you're buying something online, you're charged sales tax. That comes back to Ulster County.
Even Amazon.
Yeah. So actually, at one point last year, the reports that we're looking at included sales tax from online sales increasing over 100%. So that was a huge development in the sales tax.
And also, I think you said before, automobile sales have a big impact.
Yeah, automobile sales. Some of the larger drivers are automobile sales, gasoline sales. Gasoline prices are up right now. Restaurant sales, construction materials are. We're going to be talking about some of that tonight, but we've seen some inflation there. We've seen some inflation in almost all supply purchases and different materials that we buy, the public buys. So we overall have seen an increase in if you want to look at the CPI, I was reading some data the other day that was talking about some of the larger CPI increases in recent years, and that's usually an indicator of inflation. So that's driving some of this, but I think a lot of it is volume. It can't all be price. So even if you had a 4 or 5% price increase, we're almost 32% over last year. So It is volume.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for John? Comments? All right. Well, John, we really appreciate you bringing us all that good news. And thanks for all
Thank
the
you.
work that you do to keep us in order.
Thanks, Ronnie.
All right. So the next item on our agenda here is from the wastewater treatment plant. This is a request to transfer the cost for the new fire alarm system and upgrade the existing alarm system. Alan Winchell, are you here with us?
Yes, Randy, I'm here.
Great. Is there anything you want to tell us about this?
Back in 2019, we got a quote to install an upgrade to the alarm system and install a fire alarm system here at the facility. We cut a PO, but the PO got liquidated last year by mistake, is what I talked to John about. And so we're asking to take it from 8121. It's a zero impact on our budget.
All right, good, thank you. Any questions for Alan? Steve Shabbat?
Yeah. Hi, Alan. Thanks for being
Hey,
here.
Steve.
So what is that exactly what triggers the alarm?
Well, there's two separate alarms. One is for the fire and one is an alarm for the plant. We have the plant alarm for overflows throughout the whole plant. High water alarms, burglar alarms throughout the plant, and pump stations, but that's a totally different one, Steve.
Wait, you said burglar
Okay, so
alarm?
Yes, we have a burglar alarm down here.
What are burglars gonna steal?
Computers.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know. We had it put in the offices is what we did.
No, okay, I hear you. Thank you. All right. Any other questions or comments for Alan? All right, then, I'll entertain a motion to discuss. Steve Shabbat, second by Michelle Hirsch. All right, any discussion here? Any discussion at all? All right, then the request reads, request the following budgetary transfer to cover the cost for a new fire alarm system and upgrade to existing alarm system. It's $20,000 internal transfer, so the financial impact is estimated at zero. If there's no other comments, then I'll entertain the vote. All in favor? Opposed? Great. All right. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Rennie.
Take care. Oops. All right, hold on just a second while I take care of a bit of paperwork right here. All right, the next items on the agenda are from the Department of Public Works. I want to let you know that there is a mistake here. The first item from Maureen Topple is a duplicate. So this one we're not actually considering. All right, so we're going to move to the next item, and then the one that covers will come up after this one. So the first one we're looking at okay, so there's this one in the internal transfer in the sewer fund, right? Okay, so this is page 13 of our packet. And Ed Norman, unfortunately, has not been able to join us because he's got computer issues and Kyle has not been able yet to fix them. So this is an internal transfer of $23,000 in the sewer fund, monies to cover shortfalls. Do we have a motion to discuss? Steve Shabbat. Second by Tony Davis. Any discussion here? If there's no, go ahead, Michelle. Michelle Hirsch. Michelle, I believe you're muted.
Sorry, I forgot how to do this. Alderman Hirsch here. What is the overtime for? Is Alan Winchell still here?
He's listed as still here.
Hi, Michelle, I'm still here.
Hi. So since Ed can't be here, I was just wondering if you were able to answer some questions.
Sure. If it's overtime questions, I can't answer, but I know there was a budget transfer in there. I'm not sure if this is one for 498 for sludge. Is it in there, Rennie?
This is not 498.
Okay.
This is related to sewer equipment maintenance. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. There is over on the right, apply to sewer sludge. So
Yes.
it says sewer overtime 17,000, sewer sludge 5,000, 6,000.
Yes, that's the only one I'm able to talk about, Michelle. The other ones, that is for pump stations. That's 8120. I take care of 8130 and 8121. I could just answer a quick question about the sludge. That is the grit that we take out of the collection system. Last year, we split it out of the treatment plant and we put it into the 8121 account, and it's gone over this year with the amount of grit that we've taken out to New Paltz for disposal.
Okay, then there's the 17,000 on top of that.
Yeah. If you want, I can try to call Ed and see if he can comment.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, if everyone will hold on here. Here. There's a transfer that's in the sewer fund. Alan explained the $6,000 for sewer sludge, but we're wondering about the $17,000 for sewer overtime. Okay, so Ed is saying that Superintendent Norman is saying that the reason is there's been a really heavy a number of storms. So there've been a lot of call outs, and there's been a lot of sewer breaks too because of the added capacity there. Does that answer your question, Michelle?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I think that's it, Ed. So I don't know if I'll call you back, but hold on just a second because we're going to discuss the other two things here right immediately. Okay, so I'll call you back if we have a question. Thanks. Bye-bye. Yikes, hold on. Okay. Do you have a motion to discuss? Steve Shabbat. And do we have a second? Michelle Hirsch. All right, any discussion? All right, if there's no discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Tony Davis? He's in favor. All right, thank you. So next we're going to move to the other item here for the second item for DPW. Okay, so this one is related to general fund monies. This is a transfer to cover shortfalls in accounts. The issue here has to do with hold on a second. Hey, John. John Toohey.
Yes.
So this one, the Public Works one's for 90,000.
Yes. Yeah, there were three there. There was one for 80. The $80,000 transfer was the duplicate.
Yeah, so we skipped over that one.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
did the sewer one, but I seem
Yes.
to have lost. So we're at the 90,000 one. Is that the buyout? No, that's the cover the manhole covers, right?
Oh, that's for everything. I mean, that's a comprehensive internal transfer with zero impact to cover various accounts throughout Public Works. Yes, including the manhole covers.
Okay. Well, I seem to have gone past the one that was for the. Oh, I see.
Yeah, there was one for 4,318. There was item number 2 on the agenda, the wastewater treatment plant. That was one item, and then there were 3 transfers within, actually, yeah, 3 transfers within the DPW transfer that need to be passed. There's the $23,000 sewer transfer.
Yeah, we just did that one. I mistakenly went too far.
Yeah, and then there's yeah. Go ahead.
What we're looking at here is the we have to go back. This is page 15 of the packet. So this is $4,318. This is to cover the buyout for a sudden resignation.
Yes.
Somebody who gave their 2-week notice, and so this is coming from contingency. So this is pretty standard, but the financial impact would be $4,318.
That's correct.
All right. So can I get a motion for this one? Steve Shabbat, thank you. And a second, Michelle Hirsch, great. Any discussion here for this buyout? Okay, so it reads basically description, $4,318 from contingency to resignation payout retirement accumulation in the Public Works Department. There's no discussion. I'll call for a vote. All in favor? All opposed? Great, we're good. I'm sorry, now we'll go to, this is a general internal transfer. Crucial element here is that there was a large number of manhole covers that were bought that were going to be covered by CHIPS funds. But because they were bought late in the season, it actually has to be paid through a different fund. And so that will be covered, though, by current monies. In the Department of Public Works. Did I get that right, John?
You were talking about the $90,000 transfer now?
Yes.
Yeah, that really doesn't have a financial impact because it is being covered internally.
Okay. Do we have a motion then? Steve Shabbat, second by Michelle Hirsch. Any discussion? All right, if there's no discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Tony Davis? Thank you. All right. Good. That takes care of the DPW items. Now we're moving to Chief Brown, who wants to discuss the potential for purchasing a new fire engine for the department. Chief Brown, the floor is yours. Tell us what's going on here.
Well, we're being offered a deal from E1. What's happening because of the pandemic, obviously everything's going up. E1 will be raising their prices 17% by the end of October. So they afforded us the opportunity to purchase an engine now. The price would be under $550,000. It would replace an engine that's 14 years old that has given us numerous problems. It's the first generation of the new emission system. Never really has worked properly. And this would completely flip our fleet, by the way. It would be a pretty good accomplishment for us in the last 4 to 5 years of basically getting all new apparatus and looking at a 10 to 15 year grace period before we'd have to go through this again. So I mean, I think it's a great thing to do. I would recommend bonding, obviously, but it would save the taxpayers probably between 80 and 100,000.
Great, thank you, sir. Any questions for Chief Brown? Don Tollerman, then Steve Shabbat.
Hi, Chief, thank you. Question, can we get any money for the existing truck? Is it worth anything on the secondary market?
Yes, it would be. I off the top of my head, I don't know what. I mean, right now seems to be a demand for used apparatus. We would have many options on what we could do, but there's no reason we couldn't sell it.
And does the new truck give us any new capabilities, or is it just easier to maintain, better on gas? You know, does it any advantages besides just a fresh vehicle? You're on mute.
Emissions wise, it's much better because it runs with DEF, which runs a lot cleaner. Plus, it would be up to NFPA standard, which the current engine that we want to replace is not up to NFPA standard.
And what does that mean, the standards?
Well, NFPA is the National Fire Protection Agency. They come out with guidelines on what apparatus should have. Current apparatus have different type of safety issues. The pumps are better. All around, it's a better piece of apparatus, especially for where it's going to be going downtown. The current engine has a very difficult time with the hills down there, and this newer engine would be a bigger engine and able to handle the hills.
Randy, you're muted.
Steve Shabbat.
If I could just throw something in real quick too, it would make us have 3 identical engines. So maintenance-wise, all the same tires, every issue on would be the same, a lot easier to maintain.
Thanks. Steve Shabbat.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I'm not sure this is necessarily for you, Chief. Actually, I see a couple things on here that, you know, ordinarily I would think would be part of our budget process. Is time of the essence here with this? I've seen there's a couple things on the agenda, you know, with new positions and, you know, this, and, you know, we will be starting our budget probably next month, I would think. Is time an issue here, Chief?
Absolutely.
I mean, not that I'm against this, but, you know, I'm just wondering.
If we wait, you're gonna be over 600,000 for this rig, without a doubt. You'll
Yeah.
be well over 600.
You're saving, we would be saving somewhere between 80 and $100,000. Isn't that what you said?
Yes, we would.
Okay, so yes, time is of the essence here for sure, right?
Yeah, this is an opportunity you don't get too often.
Okay.
Luckily, the dealer called us and made us this offer. Normally, you wouldn't see me this time of year asking for this much money, but it's something I think we should jump on.
Thank you. Anything else?
Okay,
Any other
thanks.
questions? Any other questions for Chief Brown? Do you want to speak, Tony, or are you making the motion?
I'd like to speak. Is John Tui on?
Yeah, he's here.
John? I'm looking at this, again, I'm assuming this is coming out of bonding, or is it coming out of fund balance?
This would be a bonding request.
All right. It's not going to hurt anything then. It's going to be a long term.
It should be 15 years.
Okay. Thank you.
Right. Don Tollerman?
John, because of our fund balance being what it is, does that make sense to bond? If we have capital available?
In this case, I would consider it more of a longer term asset. It's a big ticket item. Ultimately, I mean, the council can choose, whichever way it wants to fund it. The thought process of bonding something like this is, this is going to benefit taxpayers over an extended period of time. And, when you're taking fund balance to pay for a piece of equipment that is going to benefit future taxpayers, you're using money from current taxpayers to fund that. This is why we try to match, when we use fund balance, we try to use it for the shorter term assets that we can. I mean, it's not a perfect science. We try to do the 3-year to 5-year assets, 10-year assets. This is getting a little bit out there and it's a larger item, but the count, either way would be fine. But my recommendation would be to bond for it and try to use the fund balance for vehicles and shorter lived assets. I mean, there's going to be, even when we're looking at the budget requests that are coming in right now, there's a number of them that are coming from the departments. And I see that as a good opportunity to use the fund balance for those items.
Thank you, John.
You're welcome. But, Don, just to maybe add something too, we can also, try to accelerate some debt payments as we have in the past. So, to shorten the lives that we're borrowing for these items for.
Tony Davis?
This is our chief. So this will replace engine 2. Is that what I heard you state?
No, this will replace engine 3.
Engine 3 downtown. Okay. And so the engine 2 is the older of the apparatus that we have right so far. The truck's the newer piece of equipment.
You're gonna love this, Tony. Engine 2 is brand new.
All right. Engine 2 is brand new. Then we got the ladder.
The ladder's 4 years old.
Yep. And then
Engine
nothing.
1 is 1 year old.
What is that?
Engine 1 is 1.5.
All righty. Okay. That's what it is. Okay.
Ours basically is flip the fleet. You've basically, in 4 years, flipped the entire fleet, which should give this city a lot of years of good use without having to worry about purchasing apparatus.
I'm always behind you. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then. Do you have a motion to discuss? Too many buttons to push. Any discussion? Michelle Hirsch?
Hi, Alderwoman Hirsch. Thank you, Chief Brown. I just want to say congratulations on the announcement for your retirement. Thank you for your service. And I want to say that I remember how you did not ask for anything in this year's budget. And you really, yeah, and I told you that if you needed anything to please come back to us. And I think that this is a very good investment. And as you said, this is the oldest engine, and we have the hills here in downtown. And I know that we have a lot of hills here in Ward 9. And I think that, this is definitely something that we should be investing in. So I will be a yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. Tony Davis?
Yes, I just want to go on record and say, Chief, I forgot to say it last time, Brown, I've known you for a long time. I just want to go on record and say thank you for your service, brother, and good luck in your retirement, and you're going to be sorely missed. All right, take care.
Thank you, Tony. While I have a minute, I want to thank all of you. It's been a pleasure working with you. You've gone out of your way to help my department, and just because I'm leaving don't mean forget about the fire department. Keep doing that good work for us. Thank you all.
Thanks for that. We will be sure to send you an honorary invitation to this year's budget discussions.
You want me, I'll be there.
All right. So the request reads, bonding authorization in the amount of $550,000 to purchase a fire engine for the City of Kingston Fire Department. Estimated financial impact, $550,000, which we would be bonding for as per this request. So, Tony Davis?
Just jumping the gun on motion.
Oh, we got the motion. We're just going to vote now.
Okay.
So all in favor? Opposed? Great. Thank you, Chief. We appreciate it. We appreciate all your good work.
Thank you. I'll see you at the budget meeting.
We'll have a cardboard cutout of you.
Oh, no, I'll be there.
All right. The next item on the agenda is an internal transfer in Parks and Recreation. These will have no financial impact. Lindsay, are you there? Is there anything important you want to tell us in this?
I am. I'm trying to flip my, there we go. Hold on, my screen.
There we go.
Something's off here.
Okay.
All right, but I'm here.
All right. So is there anything out of the ordinary here you want to let us know?
No, I think John actually mentioned, the one thing I wanted to point out was the overtime earlier. We had a really hard time filling lifeguard positions this season. I think most of you may have known that, but that is the reason for the need for the transfer into the overtime line for that specific one.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions for Lindsay? Hearing no questions, then I'll ask for a motion. Steve Shabbat. Second by Michelle Hirsch. All right, any discussion? Tony Davis?
Oh, yeah, Lindsay might be so. How did they go with the water park there? Get a lot of use. I know it's COVID season still a little bit, but was that a good attraction up there in the pool?
Are you talking about the splash pad?
Yeah, splash pad.
Yes, there were some kinks to work out, some mechanical issues at time, just with the change of the filter system and the pump. But we were able to work that out, and I think a lot of people got to enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right. So any other questions for Lindsay? All right, we've got a motion and a second. So is there any discussion in general? In that case, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor of moving this money? Oh, shoot. It's an internal transfer of several items. To cover overtime pay, gas bills, and Deet Stadium electricity. So all in favor? No one opposed. All right, great. Thank you for that. Thank you, Lindsay.
No problem. Thank you,
Thank-
guys.
Thanks for coming out tonight.
As in Lizzie on the next one?
Oh, yes, I have another. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. The Hodge Center, the ADA door. Good. So tell us what's up with this one.
Yeah, so the mayor had submitted a communication in February. It was just left off of the original communication for the ADA door at the Hodge Center. It was $8,200, and it was approved by HUD to have a lateral move for the funds to come from the Midtown Center project. The door was identified needed more at the Hodge Center than the Midtown Center at the time, which is why the move was requested to be made through HUD. And it was missed on the first communication.
All right. Any questions about that from anyone? Any questions for Lindsay on that? In that case, then I'll call for a motion to discuss. Michelle Hirsch. Do you have a second? Tony Davis. Any discussion here? Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? Carries unanimously. Great. All right. Well, Lindsay, I thank you again. Unless did I make a mistake? Is there another one here?
Shouldn't be.
All
Thank
right.
you, guys. Appreciate it.
Free to go. The
Good
next
night.
item. Well, we're gonna have to go into executive session for this one. So I'm sorry, Dan, but if we could put Dan till the end, I think that works better. Is that okay for you, Dan?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. That will save us from having to go out and come back. Okay, so then the next item on the agenda is from Corporation Counsel requesting $25,894 to add some personnel in the Corporation Counsel's office. I believe the mayor is here to discuss this. Am I correct? Mayor Noble, you are here? Yes?
Hi, Rennie. Thank you very
And-
much.
Hey, Rand, did we skip over the wastewater treatment upgrades, or did we do that earlier? Number 8 on the agenda?
Does that come before or after the Corporation Counsel?
Yeah, I
On my thing comes after, but it doesn't matter. I just wanted to make sure. I don't care. I just wanted to make sure if I
Yeah.
checked it off or we did it. So
Oh,
you
I
got
see.
the-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did skip that one. I'm sorry, I didn't see
No
it.
problem. I have no problem in having the mayor go first.
Well, if that's okay, Mayor, you want to go first since you're up?
Sure, that's fine.
Well, actually, we skipped 2. I'm sorry. They're not in the packet here that I saw. Go ahead, Mayor. I'll try to figure this out.
Sure, yeah, this one's, we are interested as part of the transition of our corporation council. We will be having a departure in the office, we believe. starting in January. And so in order to make sure that we have a seamless transition, I'd like to be able to have the authority to hire a corporation counsel to begin their time with us November 1st. And so in order to then have 2 months to basically have this cross collaboration between the two individuals, to be able to make sure that everything that we're working on is seamlessly transitioned to the new year, this $25,000 budget amendment and transfer would allow us to be able to have funding in the budget to be able to bring on someone. I would expect that I would be able to communicate with all of you in October about that process, and then be able to have that person start, as I said, November 1st. And so my request tonight is to be able to make that transfer so that we'll be ready to go in a couple of months.
All right, questions for the mayor? Tony Davis?
Mayor, and I know you probably can't divulge who and this person might be for corporation counsel, but did you talk to several people before this person was chosen, or was it just one interview? Or if you can elaborate at all on that?
So, all of this is kind of personnel related, so we can't really get into specifics, but I will tell you that, as we do with all of our hiring processes, we do a thorough job of interviews, and we'll continue to do so with this position. But I'll be able to have more details, and I would hope that in October, maybe there's an opportunity for us to have an executive session to be able to talk more in detail, about kind of the personnel issue, surrounding this situation. And I definitely would, promise to come back to all of you to do that in October.
Okay.
Michelle Hirsch?
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you for being here. I had a question regarding the transition process that would start in November and what that would look like for the council. And would we get to meet with, the new member individually? How much time would we be allocated out of that set amount of money to get to know them, work with them, start to transition ourselves?
Sure. So, as the transition process, this person would be coming to work for us full time starting November 1st. And so they'll be here every day. And so, I'm sure that they will open their office to all of you individually to come in to get to meet them. And then there'll be opportunities that as Kevin joins with these meetings and at council meetings, this person will also be able to, be a part of that discussion and time. So I think that this will really give council members a much better opportunity to kind of get to know them and to work with them and to get to, have a, kind of relationship building process while, our current corporation counsel is still employed. So it will, be a full-time basis for that 2-month period.
Thank you.
Other questions? Other questions for the mayor on this issue regarding early hiring of a new corporation counsel? All right, in that case, I'll call for a motion to discuss. Tony Davis. Second, Michelle Hirsch. All right. What's y'all feeling about this? Tony Davis?
I feel it's imperative and very important that we have a smooth transition in this very valuable department. And if the current corporation counsel is going to be moving on to higher service, and I think it would be a shame and negative to the city if we just didn't have this transition when we could, when it's possible to have this transition, and where the new corporation council could sit down and speak to the outgoing corporation council and get brought up to speed on many things and many assets of this apartment. And so I think it's very valuable that we get this corporation council, whoever this person might be, on sooner than later. Thank you.
Other comments? Any further discussion? All right, the committee report reads: request to transfer $25,894 from the fund balance per the attached chart. This transfer will allow for the ability to have a successful transition for new corporation council beginning November 1st, 2021. Estimated financial impact then $25,894. So all in favor? Opposed? All right, the motion carries unanimously. All right. Excuse me here. We do have the bonding for, I'm sorry, the Dietz Stadium issue. And the mayor is here. I don't, however, in my packet here have a budget, I mean, a finance committee report.
Rennie, I sent it out earlier today, around 12:30-ish.
Oh, so that was the second one, because I got the one for Corporation Council. Okay.
Yeah. And I have a short presentation that I could skim through to be able to kind of give folks a sense of where we are with the Dietz Stadium project, if that's something that the committee would like me to go through. It kind of goes over a sense of kind of the status of the project, the conditions of the facility, and kind of the ask in the end, if that's okay. I know you have a lot more on your agenda, so I can try to be as brief as possible if that works for everyone.
I'm good with that. How do other people feel? I'm doing 7 things at once here. Other people okay with that? Yes, I get a yes. Okay.
Okay.
You'll let, let's see, Elissa, can you make it possible for the mayor? Good, there we go.
All right, hopefully everybody can see that. And so this is a PowerPoint that we gave in January of 2019 as part of our last Project Advisory Committee meeting. This was updated in August to reflect the kind of current COVID pricing that we're seeing. And so what we're asking for today in terms of the bonding for the project is if you could consider it kind of the worst case pricing scenario. If these current COVID conditions continue in terms of cost for materials and laborers for the next 2 years. We're also joined tonight by Tim Moot, who works for CPL. And so if there are any very specific detailed questions that I can't answer, Tim can chime in and help save the day. As we looked at this project, this is too small to read, but basically we did a building condition survey of every aspect of Dietz Stadium and the Andretta pool to be able to look at what were the conditions of the site. We had
Mayor, I lost your screen.
Yeah, you lost the screens, Mayor.
Oh, I see it. Let's see.
We see the agenda for tonight's
All right, let's
findings.
move this back over.
There you go.
All right. There we go. Sorry about that. Do you guys see it now? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. So so we had, like I said, a variety of PAC meetings in our process where we invited members of the school district, members of the public, different user groups to be able to help us make the variety of different design plans and upgrades. We then went and started what we called phase one, which focused on the Nyserda pool. We looked at replacing the roof, fixing a relatively large leak in the pool, as well as putting in a brand new pool pump, as well as the splash pad that you guys spoke to earlier. All of that work has now been completed. This is just some examples of what were the current conditions of before and after at the facility. It was definitely not a pleasant environment. There was lots of leaks in the facility. It really, you can see the water pooling up on the roof. The gutters and the soffits were all, coming apart at the seams. And then now we have a brand new roof with all new soffits, and it looks really great and has worked. It's a much, this roof will now make sure that any of the interior improvements that we make in the facility look good. We then went ahead and tackled the pool pump. You can see the pump was in terrible condition. And then this is, you can see also what the pool bottom looked like as we were, going to, resurface the pool. And so these are just after many, many years of kind of not a lot of maintenance and also just age. And so then after, we have now a brand new pool for all intents. And then here's some pictures of our brand new pump system as well. It's going to be much more efficient, work much better, and really be able to make sure that we could add some additional amenities like the splash pad, which I don't have it updated with any of the actual pictures, but if you've driven by Deet Stadium, you'll see that it looks just like this. It then went, the next phase of this was to also then begin work on a preliminary master plan. So you'll see on this diagram, we were able to create a brand new site plan. These improvements include everything from brand new walkways and pedestrian system to be able to better separate the pedestrians from the vehicles, as well as brand new parking areas, bus drop-off areas, and bus parking areas, as well as a new entranceway, and to really be able to just better lay out the facility so that it can be utilized easier and safer for all of its users. And so as part of that, we did a preliminary scope for what we're now calling phase two. Phase one was generally the first areas of the pool that we talked about, and the master plan. Phase two is really a whole host of areas from electrical upgrades to bathroom upgrades to the press box to doing some work on the inside of the Nyserda pool house, to resurfacing the track and the turf, to expanding the practice field and moving the basketball court, making improvements to the scoreboard. And all of that really is kind of the meat and potatoes, if you will, of this project. I'm going to show you just quickly some of the pictures of the grandstand now. This actually, while it's a grandstand for users, it is also the roof of the building above the locker rooms and the bathrooms. And so with the kind of cracking and broken concrete that you see, that really has created a lot of water damage inside the facility. And you can see that by, this is kind of the underneath of the facility of the grandstand. And This kind of decay does not meet code in a variety of different ways. And you'll see it even in the brickwork. This happens when you have a lot of water damage and parts of the facility that are no longer sealed properly. And, you know, this kind of cracking can just lead to further issues. And so there are ways to fix it, though. And so you can see that this is not our facility. This is a different facility where we're able to take the existing building and then actually repair it. And, you know, without having to rebuild the whole facility. And I think that that's kind of, so we wouldn't be putting in brand new grandstands. We would be, you know, basically working on kind of fixing what we have. And so I'm going to skip through some of these. This is just an overview picture of what the new grandstand would look like with additional railings, so that we have a more safe passage for people as they're climbing up and down the grandstand. The number of people that we've had actually fall on the steps and not having handrails, it's really a liability issue for the city. And then you'll see right here in the middle of the screen is a new tunnel that we're proposing that would be opened up in the grandstand to be able to allow users of the field, our student and adult athletes, to be able to have direct access from the field into their locker rooms without having to go around the facility and in past the public, through the food court area, to be able to then get safely back into the locker rooms. We also need to be able to do a variety of electrical upgrades, you know, based on the fire alarm control panel needs to be updated. The emergency lighting needs to be updated. You can see some of the non-high-tech emergency lighting that we've included currently at the facility, which clearly needs to be upgraded and replaced. These are our breaker boxes for the facility. This is not up to current fire code and electrical code. The only way to turn things on and off at Audit Stadium are through the panel boxes, which again is something that we really need to make upgrades to. We do plan on doing, again, major renovation to the locker rooms. These, again, are kind of original to the building. These group shower stalls are not something that we normally see in today's 21st century shower facilities. And with a little bit of renovation, this is a current look at what they look like on a kind of just drawing design. This kind of pulls it out a little bit better and will create us the ability to have pictures that end up looking like this. And this is really what we need to have for our next generation of users and athletes. Locker rooms that are brighter, that have better ventilation, that don't have mold, that are easier to use. You know, you may have seen those old steel or metal lockers in the previous current photos. These will be much more easy to use by all of the different types of sports, you know, in kind of the facility. And so when we kind of turn our attention outside of the grandstand and we start looking at some of the gateway improvements, as we saw in the master plan, we created kind of where the flagpole is today, this new kind of entrance area to be able to unload buses full of folks, but then also be able to allow those that are parked here in the facility easier access. This is more of the midpoint way between the home field and the visitors side, which will also allow visitors and users easier access from one side of the facility to the other. This is just a rendering of what that could look like, you know, as people kind of come to Audit Stadium. Some of the other smaller components, for instance, would be the press box. Currently, a lot of the events are now moving to live streaming and streaming, and you're using the roof deck of the press box to set up all of their video camera equipment. Currently, this hole is the only way to get in and out, which does not meet code. So there are renovations that could happen, you know, here at this facility to be able to also make it more possible. for these large statewide sporting events. We also are looking at having bathrooms for the visitor side. There's 500 plus seating on the other side of the stadium and nowhere for them to go to the bathroom without having to walk all the way around. And so I'm putting in some sort of portable kind of toilet, whether it's composting or not composting, it's not determined yet, but something small that is better than a porta potty, but still allows people access on that side of the facility. And then also a renovated concession stand. Currently our concession stand, again, does not meet code for a variety of different reasons. And being able to have something that could have a higher potential for getting someone to lease it and provide higher quality food, different types of food, a different varied menu. Those are some things that we're also looking at as part of this project. And then obviously we do need to replace the turf and track at the facility. Both of them are at their end of their useful life and really have, based on the design work that our team has done at CPL and the turf and track for folks that come every year to inspect, they've let us know that we are on our last year basically of our turf and track. And so this is in the end, to do all of that work, you were looking at, which includes all new pavement around the whole facility and all new green infrastructure to be able to keep stormwater from running off site. We're looking at a project that is about $18.7 million. We've received $5 million in grant funds to date to spend on this project. We have $300,000 in the Dietz Stadium Capital Reserve. With that, we would, in the end, need, at this point, without any other additional grant funding, $13.4 million in a municipal bond that would be paid for over a number of years. And those costs would be split between the City of Kingston and the Kingston City School District. I did share with everyone today a copy of that school district contract that goes over how that sharing works. And so, we think that now is the time because of this, the work that we've done, because of the downtown revitalization funds that we have and that we've been able to leverage and all of this other state grant money. We believe packaging this together in one project that will be built over the course of 2 years, we'll be able to make sure that in that short period of time, there will be some construction, headaches for the users of the facility. But our goal would be to be able to get this project done by the end of that second year and to be able to do our best to work around school and other sport and user groups. But we've got support from the Kingston City School Board. We've got support from the Kingston City School Superintendent. And tonight, I'm really looking for your support to be able to, help invest in this facility that has a real potential to be continue to grow as its economic development engine for Uptown Kingston. But in the end, it really is also one of the most used city parks. It is free and open to all to use. And so many people, believe that this Nyserda pool, Dietz Stadium complex is just so important to them. And we heard it time and time again during our public process that this was one of the most important things. It was the number one thing that the DRI committee and the community voted on as the number one project to be able to support. And so we think that this would really, if we can get your support tonight, on this bond request, we feel like we're going to be able to move this project forward in a really positive way over the next couple of years. And so I think that's my overview. I'm going to stop sharing here. And then if there are other specific questions over the course of this, Tim's here and can help answer any questions that folks may have. And I do want to just thank both Ruth Ann from the Grants Management Office and Lindsay from Parks and Recreation for their support and helping kind of support Dietz Stadium in this capacity.
Great, thank you for that presentation, Mayor. So I see Steve Shabbat has a question for the mayor. This is time for questions, not discussion. So questions for the mayor or Tim Moot?
Yeah, well, actually, I probably got about 100 questions and comments, but I'm going to really hold it down to just a couple here. To say these renovations are sorely needed is probably the biggest understatement I've ever uttered in my life. Simply put, the stadium is in deplorable condition. I know probably Tony and I might be the only ones here tonight that actually played on those fields. Different generations, of course, Tone. This is very ambitious. I will say that. But this is what I was looking for. A breakdown of what that money was going to be used for. I guess my comment would be more of a question, I guess, for you, Mayor. Are we going to, and by we I mean you, are you going to be putting this kind of information out to the public? Because I know there are already people, saying we don't want to spend this kind of money. The city shouldn't be spending this. There are people who think the DRI will cover all of this that you're talking about tonight, when they ask me, I said that's impossible. I mean, there's just so much money that could be spent here. That was really a drop in the bucket. I don't know if you have plans for that, to let the public in on this kind of thing. But anyway, this is, again, I'm just going to say it's really needed. We've had this discussion many times over the past several years. And I know, from, being with the Deep Stadium Commission, we've missed out on so many bids to use this facility just because, just take the bathrooms. People don't want to use the bathrooms. People walk out to Deep Stadium Diner to use the bathrooms because they don't want to go in here. So, this is the kind of stuff that is going to go a long way towards attracting revenue for this stadium. And the fact that the school district now is in on this, kind of sweetens the deal for me. But it is a lot of money, but I really think this is money well spent. So thanks for being here, sharing so much information with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman Shabbat. And I think one of the things that we've been trying to do over the last month and a half is we've, launched this, we celebrated Deet Stadium's 100th birthday recently, and we tried to bring the public's attention to Deet Stadium. Our Engage Kingston website has gotten a lot of hits about Deet Stadium. We have on there all of this information, including the budget detailed. We have a video that will fly people through the renovations so that they could see it firsthand of what it will look like when it's done. And so we've really tried to get that information out there, and we'll continue to, get that information out to the public about what this means for the city and how it can be, kind of brought back to life after many years of neglect. And so that's our hope, and we will continue to educate and promote and get good, accurate information out there to the public the best we can.
Thank you for that. Tony Davis.
And thanks for being here, Mayor. And again, it's getting back to that DRI, and you got some naysayers out in the public who think, and that money that we received will cover everything that was, that is being suggested or planned for Deet Stadium. I'm glad you gave that breakdown of where the money is already, and some of the money is already gone in regard to, I'm not sure if you broke that down, the original, if you can break down that 10 million that was allocated to us from the state and where that money's gone. And so, some people can have their answers and questions answered. I'm not sure if you did that before.
Sure. So, just briefly, so the community came up with about 10 projects for the DRI, a variety of projects across Uptown Kingston. The governor's office, as through their process, then chose 6 projects to be able to fund out of the 10 million. They chose the amounts that each project got and which projects. And so Dietz Stadium received $2.5 million out of that. Frog Alley, the historic Frog Alley ruins were redeveloped through a $500,000 grant through the DRI. The Schwank Drive and Albany Ave, Clinton Avenue intersection project received, those are in design now and will be going to bid or end construction in 2022. That was just over $2 million to redo those intersections and roadways. And we then $4 million were also put toward the Kingstonian redevelopment to help us build that public parking garage and the public park in Uptown. And so there was then also 600,000 that we're working with Ulster County with to be able to support facade grants and loans, as well as to support multifamily apartment complex renovations for local kind of smaller apartment units. And so that rounds out, I think, if I do the math, about the $10 million worth of work.
And of the original 2.5 million, majority of that went towards the pool.
So far, 890,000 has been spent on the pool. The remaining 1.6 would be spent on the first phase of the grandstand repairs, and as well as this design work, for that part of it. And so that we've got 1.6. And so with nothing else, we'll be able to do some work on the grandstand. As you can see, according to the cost estimates, the grandstand repairs are 1.6 million for the current cost estimates for that. Plus, then you have to add some of the COVID contingency. So, we're probably looking at a little over 2 million plus for the grandstand. So it's really expensive work, and it's extensive work. It's not just paint and a few new, doors or windows. And I think that that's what we're trying to get across. That even, that's one of the biggest costs, as well as the turf and track. That's 1.6 million alone for just to resurface the track and to reinstall the turf.
Right. And then some people out there, naysayers, are saying we received the additional 2.5. And I know you've given me some information on it. That is supposed to go towards the upgrade of the parking area. Is that correct?
Yes. So the 2.5 million will do all of the parking and a lot of that site work that we talked about. So all new pavement, all new trees, all new the sidewalks. That will help pay for all of that work in the entire parking lot area, which is a big project, a lot of pavement, a lot of work there. So yes, that's where the 2.5 million, and that's from the Environmental Facilities Corporation. And so that grant can only be used for that work.
Okay. And now one other question, and some people are concerned about these estimates that you just put out there and you showed in discussion about some increases in slide and supplies because of COVID. They're just estimates. There are nothing set in stone. So if COVID was to go away and these prices would go down, obviously the amount and that we would actually wind up borrowing would go down as well.
Yeah, the amount we would borrow would go down. And if over the next 2 years, we also receive any additional grant funding, the amount that we need to borrow will also go down. So right now we already have applied for $500,000 as part of this recent CFA process this summer that you all went through with us. And so that would also come off that number. And if there's additional grants that we apply for next year for different components of this, that would then also come off the bond that we would need to use.
And I just want to end with a note. And again, we are trying to revitalize or save probably our oldest park in the city of Kingston, the most recognized park. And people out there who are against this project. And I don't know what your suggestions were. Would you rather see Dietz Stadium just collapse and crumble and that, and then where would the sporting events happen? Where would football happen? Where would track and field happen? Where would we be able to have a semi-pro football team and soccer team there? What would you say should happen to Deet Stadium if we don't go in here as the investors to invest for our future, for the future generations? What should we do with Deet Stadium? And so I would say that out to you. If we don't fix it now, we're not going to be able to fix it, or we're just going to let it crumble. We're going to put Band-Aids on it. And as Steve Chavez stated, and I'm not sure many other people who are sitting on this council and that have played sports there. And as I stated at the anniversary, I played sports there where it was a dirt track, a dirt football field. And now I coach there to see the turf and all-weather track. And I'm constantly up there picking up, trying to preserve it as much as possible when we have cross-country practice in the morning or something. And I coming up there and I'm removing empty bottles that are laying on the ground and putting them in the garbage can, moving garbage cans around, because I'm trying to preserve this as much as possible to make this stadium look attractive. But we have to do something. And like I said, I'm there all the time. I've been underneath the tunnels, trying to go in there and to get equipment. You see rats run around. It's all kinds of mold and debris. I don't even know what's going in there. I've seen where the electric boxes are. I've been in the press box. These things all have to be updated if we want to preserve Deet Stadium and make it a place that's going to attract people to come to Kingston. Thank you.
Any more questions for Mayor Noble? Steve Chavez, is it a question? And then Michelle Hirsch.
Actually, I just want to follow up just a little. I couldn't agree with Tony any more than what he said, but I just want to say, for a lot of people, they come to Deet Stadium from all over to see an event. And for a lot of folks, this is the first place they see in Kingston. And, I shudder, when I'm up at a game or some kind of event and, that there's somebody walking through these gates for the first time and is going to judge Kingston by the looks of this stadium. And, I really feel bad. I mean, this is a historic place. I really want this to be something the whole city can be proud of. I mean, I'm proud that I played there. As Tony said, it was a dirt field. It was not a great facility even back in its heyday, but it's history. I played it. My kid played there. I mean, this is part of Kingston's history, and again, I don't want to be judged by other people on what it looks like. This is going to be really something we can be proud of. I think that's, Kingston is becoming a place we're proud of. This will just add to it. I think this is very ambitious of you, Mayor, but it's really needed.
Okay, thanks. Michelle, you got a question?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Noble. Is there a guarantee that, the track and everything will stay open to the public as it is now after the renovations are done? I know that it was a lot of people went there to walk during COVID and, use that space. So I've received a lot of calls regarding this from constituents because they use, some facilities here in Ward 9, like specifically the Kingston High School tennis courts, and then they were renovated and closed down. So that's not been resolved yet. So I've been asked about how, that there's a guarantee that these facilities and the track and everything will stay open to the public once the renovations are completed.
Yes. And so, we have an agreement with the Kingston City School District. We are co-owners of the facility, and our ownership, requires and mandates that it be a public facility. There are times of the year and times of the day and times of the week where the school district is able to use the track and field for their school purposes, but all other times the facility is open to the public. This summer, because people were, really wanted to be able to get out and exercise. We even had requests from the community to keep the lights on later so that people could play, and we did. And I think that that's the unique nature of this. While the tennis courts, that were renovated are owned wholly by the school district, it gives us not a lot of say over those types of things. But for this facility, not only does do we have this co-ownership model, but our current agreement that we signed in 2019 also gives us management and capital control, so that we are able to really be in charge of what happens at the stadium. And we work very cooperatively with the school district, and we work out the schedule, and they do use it a lot for all of their different events. But I think we're really happy that we're able to keep the facility open to the public, the bathrooms, the track, the outside walking area. I think that's critical to us. And we will, thankfully we have those contracts that kind of guarantee that openness. And because we're also investing state funds into this, there are also requirements of the state funds that these be open and accessible and free to the public to use.
And I just had a question regarding technically how the bond works. Since we're going to split it 50-50, are we going to bond half of that 13.4 million, and then the Kingston City School District bonds the other half? What does
Sure.
that?
So the way we work Deet Stadium and have in the past, even now the school district pays a bond related to Deet Stadium. School districts are not allowed to bond in the way we do. And so the way this relationship works is that we would bond the full 13.4 million. Each year there would be a bond payment that needs to be paid. That bond payment would be paid by us, and we would then invoice the school district for their share, and then they would kind of send us their payment of whatever half of that is. John, did I get that right? You're unmuted now, John.
Sorry. Yes, you did, Steve. Sorry.
Okay. Good. Yeah, so I got that right. So that's the current process, and that's how the process has worked with the last time there was a bond for Deet Stadium many years ago, and the school district I think is still paying on that bond, correct?
Yes.
How long a bond are we looking at then?
It would be approximately 15 years.
And then our contract renews every 5, is that right?
The way the contract states is that I don't know if there is a renewal, an automatic renewal, but it's a 5-year contract. But the way we worded the contract was that any capital costs that were undertaken during that contract, even if we no longer have a contract, they're still required to pay for the remaining length of that bond that was entered into during the contract. And so that clause is in the contract. That also kind of protects us as well over time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mayor Noble? There's also an attached report here about the Deet Stadium Reserve. Is that something you would speak to, Mayor, or is that something that John Tui, you would tell us about?
Either one. I mean, I think the reserve was created when the Deet Stadium Commission, as part of this new 2019 agreement with the school district, we took over capital and management control, and we kind of dissolved the Deet Stadium Commission. At that time, all of the remaining assets of this commission that were set aside for future capital work that had kind of accumulated in their accounts over a period of years. We then placed, with the Common Council's authorization, into a capital reserve that would be used and can only be used for capital work at Deet Stadium. And so as part of this major capital project, in order to spend any of the funds out of that, we would need an authorization from the Common Council to spend those funds down. We would spend those funds down first before we got to any bonding. So that would further kind of reduce that cost of the bonding. And John, did I cover all of that?
Yes, you did. Yeah, I mean, just to clarify that the funds that are in that reserve were the joint property of the city and a school. The total is approximately $298,000. By the time we draw it down, I mean, there's a small amount of interest that accumulates each month. So, you're looking at $300,000, I think, in total. But yeah, the plan will be to use those monies first, and that would just offset the total cost of the project, about $300,000. Looks like Tony has a question.
Okay,
I
thank
just
you.
wanted,
Tony?
the mayor, yes, part of the agreement that you sent out and I read closely, it automatically renews for another 5 years, the agreement, unless terminated by either party.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, so do we have any more questions for the mayor? Questions for the mayor on this issue? Don Tollerman?
Not a question, just I've been quiet. It's
Well, if it's not a question, can it wait for discussion?
oh yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the mayor? Michelle Hirsch.
This would be more a question for John Toohey. I'm just curious. I know that with COVID, we don't probably have really good numbers, like what the city is making back on, say, like the sports events that we're hosting, like the Stockade soccer and such.
Are you looking for like what we've
What we're generating? Yeah, that's separate from school district events that are
I mean, it's significantly down. I can try to look it up while we're talking here.
Didn't I see a figure somewhere that said something like on average, the city in general gets something like $300 per visitor from outside the city?
Yes, I think globally speaking, there's a lot of research and reports that indicate that for every kind of ticket sold, like any person that comes to a sporting event, they have X amount of kind of extra spending that they do with gas and food and lodging. I think Michelle's question was very more specific in terms of like how much actual revenue comes into, the actual kind of rental fees of the stadium. But yeah, the actual global economic impact of these events is much larger than what we generally kind of put in our budget, for sure.
Yes, I mean, so getting back to Michelle's question, yeah, I mean, the rental activity that we would receive is, we receive some advertising money, but there hasn't been much in terms of facility charges.
And then given that, the school district has first say, prior, right to the use of the facility, how much time really do we have left to attract other events that are outside of school events?
So generally speaking, the school district has priority September through June. And the city and kind of our public events have priority from June through September. And so, I think a lot of the kind of non-school district events are going to be probably related to athletic events on a kind of statewide level. And so they kind of blend sometimes, even if we end up hosting the state football championship or semis or we could bring in thousands of people, but Kingston High School may not actually be playing because they may have lost in one of the earlier rounds. And so I think that, there's still time for us in the summer to be able to host a lot of the community events like the Relay for Life or the Stockade Soccer or the semi-professional football teams or, KASL that plays or some of the other different kind of non-Kingston City School events. It definitely gets busy on the weeknights, after school time period, but generally during the school year. But we also haven't really had a lot of interest from outside events during that time of year because it's kind of the fall, winter, spring season. So I don't know if that helps answer the question, but that's kind of the way the schedule works for us.
Don Tollerman?
Hi, Steve. That conversation that you just had, sort of that takes a little bit of the punch out of it, right? Because there's really not much opportunity to attract these state events that Tony was referring to. If, the majority of the year, we can't host it because of our agreement with the school board. Is there a way to negotiate or get more open dates that we can, utilize the stadium and create new revenue?
Yeah, I mean, Tony may be able to answer as well. I mean, generally, a lot of the school district events don't actually happen on the weekends as much. That's when generally the larger sporting events, that the state championships or the regional finals or the regional meets, they sometimes happen kind of outside of the normal traditional school schedules. But the thing that to also remember is that the school district, as a part of Section 9 and as a part of the larger, really the school district would be our partner and actually applying for these events in most instances to kind of bring these events in, even if they're not necessarily playing. Tony, am I getting some of this right?
Yes, Mayor. Again, when we're hosting state championships in track and field or state football championships or semifinals, and that doesn't have nothing to do with Kingston High School. As the mayor stated, they might not even be playing, but we are hosting those events. And again, in order for us to track those events back that we've lost to Middletown and some other schools, we have to improve our facilities or they're never going to come back. Nobody, like Steve Stabber was saying, this is the first thing some of these and people see, and they come to Deet Stadium off of the New York State Thruway, exit 19, the first capital of New York State. One reason we were hosting them is so much is because the access off of New York State. But then when people coming here over the years of the visitors and bleachers crumbling, falling down, no bathroom for the visitors. They have to walk across the track to get to it. Not updated concession stands and to be able to offer different types of food besides hot dog. These are the things that we're losing. These are the things that we need to improve them. So when we host these state events, that has nothing to do so much with Kingston High School as Section 9. And when we improve this, those Section 9s, the coordinators, the coaches are going to say, let's go back to Kingston. They got update facility. It's easier access off the New York State Thruway. They have access to many hotels. They have access to restaurants right by it. That is what attracted these people there. The reason they're not attracted is we still have the hotels. We still have the restaurants. It's just that Deet Stadium is falling apart and we have to improve it. And so that's how we get our revenue. And, it's part of those things there. And then that brings more people to this park. And in regards to just the revenue, what are we leaving to our next generation if we're not going to improve this? This thing's just going to crumble and crumble and crumble and crumble. So we're about fixing this up for the next generation. We don't take up, Deet Stadium and Hasbrook Park and Forsyth Park so much. Oh, what revenue they're bringing in. We're improving them. So the next generation, people who live in Kingston or people who visit Kingston can enjoy those facilities. Thank you.
All right, great. So if there are no more questions, then I will ask for a motion to discuss. Steve Shabbat, do we have a second? Tony.
So my thing, so I apologize.
Rennie, you're muted, I think.
So yeah, any further comments or discussion?
I would just end with this, if I could speak,
Tony
discussion.
Dave.
We're improving our infrastructure, right? With these new roads. Why are we not improving this infrastructure? That's been a vital part of this community for 100 years or whatever it might be. I'm not sure exactly here. That if we're improving our infrastructure. We should be improving our other infrastructure here. And one of the most vital infrastructures we have is Deet Stadium. Thank you.
We had the power to bring Babe Ruth here to play back in the 1930s, I think it was. Joe DiMaggio played there. So it's time that we live up to that heritage. Any further discussion?
I just want to say that, I was asked to vote no on this, but, now there's further clarification about, the cost sharing between the city and the school district. I will go forward as a yes vote. I do, I'm a parent. I have children that, play there. But I just want to, point out that we've inherited Deet Stadium from the district, that the district didn't keep it up. So we are taking on debt on behalf, of the school. So I just want to point that out, that, it wasn't on us that we didn't update it. It was on the school district, so, I would like to see it be improved and be a draw. And so I will be a yes, but I just, want to make sure that it's kept open to the public and it's accessible. Thank you.
Great. Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? The vote is unanimous in favor. And now we have to also look at the reserve here. All right. Oh, let me at least read that. I'm sorry, I forgot to read it. Request bonding authorization for the $18,700,000 Deet Stadium Andretta Pool Capital Improvement Project in the amount of $18,400,000, with the amount to long-term bond to be reduced by available state grants estimated at $5 million. Approximately $300,000 of the project costs will be funded through the Deet Stadium Capital Reserve. Authorize the mayor to execute all and any contracts related to this project. Estimated financial impact, $13,400,000, and the vote was unanimous in favor. The committee report regarding the reserve is request authorization to utilize the full Deet Stadium Capital Reserve to offset costs for the Deet Stadium Capital Improvement Project. Do you have a motion to discuss? Tony Davis. And a second. Michelle Hirsch. All right, is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? All opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Great, thank you for that. Then we will now go to the wastewater treatment plant.
Thank you all. Have a good night, okay?
Thank you, and thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
All right, so this is from engineering from John Schulteis. The committee report reads, request a bonding authorization for the $10,200,000 wastewater treatment plant upgrades capital improvement project in the amount of $9 million, with the amount to long-term bond to be reduced by available state grants estimated at $2,225,000 $2,250,000. The $9 million bond is an additional bond in addition to the $1,200,000 bond previously approved. Authorize the mayor to execute all and any contracts related to this project. Estimated financial impact, $7,950,000. I see that John Schulteis is here to help us understand what's going on. So John, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you. This is a project that's been underway for really since about 2016. And Mr. Chairman, I do have, I want to introduce Aaron Moore, our consultant from Ty and Bond, is here with us tonight. I'm going to try to give a brief presentation, if that's acceptable, probably shorter than the one you just went through, to give the background of the project and how we arrived at this proposed solution. So would you like me to go through the presentation?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me share my screen and do that. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to need permission to share my screen from a meeting host, I guess.
That's Elissa. Yeah, Elissa, can you make that happen?
Yep, I just did.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Okay, so if this works, you'll see a presentation here starting with a cover sheet and the aerial view of the city's wastewater treatment plant and the Rondout Creek. Can everyone see that?
No.
Are you able to see the aerial view?
I can't.
Yes.
So I don't know what's going on with me then.
Is that a yes? I'm sorry.
Tony Davis can.
Thumbs up. Okay, cool. Okay, thanks. So again, this is a project at the city's wastewater treatment plant. It's I'm going to go through a little background, how we arrived here tonight, where we're at, and the funding that's needed to execute the project. So starting in 2016, the wastewater treatment plant has operated under a SPEDIES permit, which stands for State Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. It regulates highly everything we do at the plant and the quality of the effluent that gets discharged to the creek. So in 2016, the City of Kingston's permit was updated to include a lower limit on the nitrogen or ammonia that is discharged to the creek. And so at that time, the city began to pursue alternative technologies or strategies to meet that limit. Starting in 2017, one of the strategies that was identified is a system known as biomag. Ultimately, we're not pursuing biomag because we investigated other alternatives and came up with one that we believe is a lower overall cost, upfront and ongoing cost. And so beginning in 2018, the city hired Ty and Bond and began looking at those alternatives, including negotiations and discussions with the DEC, which is the agency that administers the SPEDIES permit. And so since about 2018, we've been going through a preliminary design, alternatives, and now a detailed and final design, which we have and are in the final stages. So that's where we are today, and we're here to discuss the funding so that the project could be bid and executed. So one of the what you see here is the outfall of the effluent to the Rondout Creek. If you've been there near where the PT boats are, you might have seen this structure, especially at low tide. This photo shows what it looks like at low tide. The lower two pipes that you see are for the treated effluent. that discharge anywhere from 2 to 6 million gallons a day of treated wastewater to the creek. So one of the two components of the project is to improve this from something that you would see standing there, where it and there's a visible plume into the creek, to a configuration that's sort of shown here in this drawing, where that piping is going to be extended further down about 20 feet below the water surface, where you won't actually see it, and where it can better mix and dilute with the flow of the Rondout Creek. So by doing this, the DEC agreed that the city would get a credit effectively and towards the would make it easier for us to meet those permit limits and not have the negative effects on the environment that undiluted wastewater would have. And so that's one component. And the next component are the things we're going to do inside the plant itself. And this aerial view here, you can see where this square is are the aerators, the aeration tanks. There's 3 of them here. Those need to be, well, the tanks themselves will stay the same, but there are fine bubble diffusers in the bottoms of those tanks that need to be upgraded. Along with a major part of this project is the blowers that blow air at that stage of the treatment to cause the chemical and biological reactions we need to meet the effluent limit. So just going through here, there's also going to be some upgrades in this part of the plant related to that. And there's some safety upgrades as well, things like gratings and handrails that need to be replaced. So a lot of what we're discussing here are 40-year-old items that are at their end of their lives. And while replacing that, we're going to use that opportunity to come into compliance with the DEC permit. The blowers themselves are housed in the main building in this corner of the plant, and will also be replaced. There are 4 blowers that are about 40 years old. Only 3 of them are operational right now, and we'll be replacing those with modern blowers, which, in addition to being functional and reliable, are going to save the city a lot of electricity on an annual basis. So that's the strategy that was come up with, the 2-stage strategy. One, to replace the outfall piping to a deeper depth in the creek and closer to the main flow of the creek, where we'll get better mixing and dilution, and then the process upgrades. So each of those is going to result in a construction contract that we expect to bid later this year. Those 2 things together have an expected cost of around $8 million plus a contingency, and together with the design and the construction administration gets us to that $10.2 million total project cost for this project. Again, just to update where we are, we went through a detailed design. There's environmental permitting ongoing. I'll actually be back before the Common Council Finance and Audit Committee in a week to finalize the seeker, that's state environmental quality review process that was started. And there's permits related to the work in the water that have to be obtained. After all of that's complete, we'll be bidding the project to obtain competitive bids on the work, and then the construction could start as early next year. So here's a little page about the project budget. And as I mentioned, $10.2 million overall project. There are grants in place worth about $2.25 million. I also want to mention earlier this year, in July, we, under the consolidated funding round CFAs. We did apply for additional grants. We're currently waiting to hear a decision back. If we're successful, our request for those additional grants was about $3.4 million. That would further offset or reduce the city's contribution. But the numbers here that I'm describing are assuming that if that additional grant is not awarded, the city's share would be about 7.9 million. The city, because of this type of project the city's eligible for zero interest financing from the Environmental Facilities Corporation, that's EFC, with an expected 30-year payback. And so the $22,100 per month is the expected financing on this project. So, and I did want to just mention that, similar to what you just heard about the school board paying for a portion of the stadium project, the town of Esopus, as a satellite community to our wastewater plant, we have an agreement whereby they pay 10.42% of these types of capital projects. So that would be a further reduction to the city. That's the end of the presentation I have, and myself and Aaron are here for your questions.
Great. Actually, Alyssa, can you let Tony Davis back in the meeting? His computer dropped him out and now he can't get back in.
Should be on his way right now.
Great, thank you. Okay, so John, I'm just wondering, kind of in larger environmental sense here, will this affect these changes? Will these affect like odors around the plant? Will this have any effect on the, I know there's some people who are worried about, when we have big storms, and sometimes that means that untreated sewage goes out in the water.
Right. So
on any of those?
Well, the city operates a total of 5 outfalls. The one I'm showing you tonight is the treated effluent. The other 4 that you describe are combined sewer overflow outfalls that only operate during wet weather. This project that I'm describing tonight really does not have an effect on those other 4.
Okay, what about things like odor around the plant?
Yeah, that same question was asked when I was here with the seeker. This project also is not an attempt to address odor control at the plant.
All right, Steve Shabbat.
Hi, John, thanks for being here. I guess it sounds like it's fair to presume that a lot of these improvements have to be made in order to get the permit, right? I mean, we're not doing this just for the sake of doing it.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
And what's the impact if we don't do this and don't get the permit? We just carry on as we are now?
No, that's not an option. The DEC would.
We have to have this permit.
Yeah, we have the permit. The permit defines a time frame for us to come into compliance. The DEC recognizes that a project of this size takes time to design, time to permit, and time to build. So we've told the DEC that we're making continual progress, and they've given us a prescriptive timeline in which to do so. So we would, if we don't approve this and don't construct it, we would become out of compliance with the permit and be subject to fines and litigation.
Okay. We don't really have a lot of choice here, right?
No.
Okay.
And what about, so these are just your basic estimates that we're looking at? We still have to go out to bid on these numbers?
Yeah, well, the estimates are pretty detailed because the construction plans are pretty detailed. And so it's, so many linear feet of pipe and so many blowers and, so many cubic yards of concrete. We think the the bids are going to come in within this range would be our expectation.
Great. Okay. Other questions here for John or Aaron? Don Tollerman?
Hey, John. The question was just asked if this addresses the odors at all, and you said no, it does not. But that's on the mind of virtually everybody who's down there. So could it, was that looked at? Are there other things that can be done to remediate the odors? I mean, if we're spending so much money, can we get something besides replacing what we already have? Is there any way to address the odors?
Well, I might ask Aaron to chime in on that to see if there is some relationship, but as far as I know, that's not an aim of this particular project.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. So the focus of this project is definitely, John was pretty gentle about it, but it's to avoid being in non-compliance with the speedies permit, meeting the ammonia limits and not being fined or having litigation. So our focus was very tight on the scope. Definitely there's visual impacts that are in the by the outfall being right at the water surface, but that's not the primary source of odors at the plant. An odor control project at the plant would impact completely different facilities at the plant. So when there is heavy solids in the clarifiers, might involve covering those structures, chemical scrubbers or activated carbon scrubbers, but it's really a completely different design scope. So within the budget that's been defined, it's pretty tightly focused on meeting that compliance in the most economic way. There's not a lot of other, I'd say there's zero bells and whistles towards anything else happening at the plant. So as John said, there's the existing blower equipment, heart of the plant, they're 40 years old, way beyond their service life, extremely not energy efficient. They've been scheduled for replacement from many years, but then DEC did change the permit requirements. So I know this has been on the docket and on Alan Winchell's action item list for quite a long time. So absolutely, I understand that is a goal, especially given the location the plant is at, but not within the scope of what we were asked to look at this point.
Thank you for that. Other questions? If there are no other questions, then I'll ask for a motion to discuss. Steve Shabbat. Michelle Hirsch gives a second. All right, any discussion? Any comments here? Tony Davis?
Yes, I apologize. I had technical difficulty with my computer, so I went out for the whole time. And John, that you were presenting us, I'm just caught some in the tail end of that. And so I apologize. I'm asking repeated questions. So this is a requirement that we can't get around. This is something that the city has to complete. Is that what I'm gathering from the whole discussion?
Is the only alternative would be sort of willful non-compliance with the permit, which I don't think anyone would recommend.
All right. And what is this going to? What is the cost of this? That would
so
be?
we're here tonight for a $9 million bond, which is in addition to 1.2 million that was authorized about 3 years ago to start the design and get us to this point. And the grants that we have in hand are worth about 2.25 million.
So, and without going back into your whole presentation, what is this money? What are you allocating to do with this money?
It's two. The major expenses are two construction projects. One is in the outfall piping at the Rondout Creek, and the other are components in the wastewater treatment plant itself that upgrade the process, mainly around the aeration system and the blowers.
and we had to do this to be in compliance. Right. Thank you.
That's right.
Great, thanks. Any other questions? Any other comments or discussion? All right, hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor, signify. All right, good. Don Tollerman, thumbs up from you. Thank you. All right, it is unanimous. I believe I read this earlier, didn't I? Bonding authorization, $10,200,000. All right. Then the next item is Corporation Counsel is asking for, thank you for being here, Aaron Moore and John Schulteis. We appreciate all the work that y'all are doing.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Good night to you.
Thank you.
We
All right,
still got
Kevin.
Corp Counsel and Comptroller.
Yeah, we've got
Three
4
more
items
items.
left to go. We've got Corporation Counsel transfer. We've got a transfer in the Comptroller's office.
And then we got
The
executive session.
HED fees, and then we've got the special session with, the executive session with Dan Baker. So, Kevin, are you there? If you're there, Kevin, we see an empty chair, but we don't hear anything.
2 hours.
There we go. Not hearing you, Kevin.
Kevin is trying to unmute. I just spoke to him.
Sort of.
He's on, I have him on speakerphone on with my phone to the computer.
Yeah, I'm not hearing.
He says, I apologize for the technical difficulty. Go ahead, Kevin. I'll
Let's,
translate.
Well, here the committee report reads, authorize the transfer of the sum of $77,000 to correct shortages in the
Okay, and I
consultant
will-
and court and witness lines.
I'll translate for you.
Yes, this money is going to cover our consultants that are dealing.
This money is going to cover our consultants that are what?
Dealing with our outside legal fees.
Outside legal fees. In particular,
There's the Washington Avenue Tunnel.
the Washington Avenue Tunnel.
There are outside consultants that we have to cover.
There are other outside consultants that we have to cover.
So we also have some property transfers, and that's where the
Property transfers,
fee
and that's where the witness fee and additional money is going towards.
And so I apologize for this.
I apologize for this.
Unfortunately, we've had private discussions regarding the outstanding litigation
We've had private discussions just about the outstanding litigations
and the complexity
and the complexity
and the developments.
and so this is a follow-up because he explained in the past that money was going to need to be transferred.
Great, thank you for that. It's too bad no comedians have ever thought of doing this.
I never wanted to be that funny. You're funny.
All right. Okay. So are there any questions for Kevin and or Alyssa as translator? If that's a no, then I'll take a motion to discuss. Michelle Hirsch, second from Steve Shabbat. Right, is
Oh,
there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Thumbs up. Yes, Tony, okay, great. All opposed? Passes unanimously. Sorry for all that, Kevin, but we got it through. Thank you. I presume you said you were going to be sending us money in the mail. All right. Well, we got it done. Thank you. The next item, John Toohey, you have a request for transfers in the comptroller's office there.
Yes, Rennie, I have a transfer request that's just doing some mid-year cleanup, no financial impact.
All right. Any questions for John? Any questions? Steve Shabbat, or are you making a motion? All right, so we've got a motion from Steve Shabbat. Do we have a second? Michelle Hirsch. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, I can't find that. Who made the motion on that? Michelle?
I made the second.
The second. Who made? Oh, Steve, did you make the motion? Okay. All right. So if there's no discussion, then I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, so that's the budget transfer there, John. Then the last thing I see here on the that we've got here before we go into executive session is the ATV fees.
Yeah, that one wasn't. Yeah, that's old business. Wasn't something I put in. If anyone was doing homework on that.
I don't have any.
We had people who were looking at other communities and what they were charging. Right. There's some discussion at the last meeting.
I have not gotten any data on that score, so.
Okay. I believe this was from Andrea.
All right, well, let's just put that off and then we'll go to yes, Michelle.
Something that's also still not on there for old business, but we should bring back is the licensing fees for the hotels and the short-term rentals.
Okay, Alyssa, can you see about that?
For next month?
Yeah,
Yep, I'm making a note of it.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so this is item number 7, Main Street LLC versus City of Kingston. For this, we have to go into executive session. We got this from Melissa at 6:28. We have an email from Elissa. Please do not say any of this information out loud, but the call number and the access code are both there. Please close your video and your sound on Facebook here. But remember, we will have to come back, just if only for very briefly, to adjourn. All right.
John, I just sent it to you. I don't know if you need it.
Yes, thank you. I think I need to be invited into the meeting.
Let me tell Rennie.
Okay.
Okay, I, as Chair of Finance, invite John Toohey into this executive session.
We also have to ask council to come in, Kyle Burnett.
Okay, and I also invite our counsel, Kyle Barnett, in, as well as Dan Baker, for the purpose, we're going to executive session for the purpose of discussing litigation.
Dan Baker, are you sending that information to Kyle? I don't have his contact.
Thank you. Uh-oh, Elissa, you may have to let Tony and Steve back in. I don't see their,
I just let Tony in. I don't see Steve. Oh, there he is. He just popped up. Hold on.
okay.
He's on his way.
All right, well, thank you everyone for your attention through this long meeting, but I would like to point out, we're nowhere near the record for this committee. We got over 3 hours to go if we want to hit the record, so I am not proud about stopping now, but if any of you really want to. Otherwise, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Michelle Hirsch makes a motion to adjourn. Steve Shabbat makes a second. All in favor? All right. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for the good work, and have a good evening. Stay dry, unless you're a flower. Good night.
Lisa, thanks for
Good night.
Good night.
Don, thanks for listening, Dan.